Is this major star set to sign with WWE? And there was a major shock on AEW Dynamite. But first, let's take a look at some more key stories coming out of last night's episode of Dynamite, where multiple popular stars made their return. The first return would take place early on in the night, where the cameras went backstage to show former TNT champion Miro walking down the corridor before being stopped by Renee Paquette. She would then ask him what he was doing back on AEW Dynamite, although there was no answer from the Bulgarian, before he was seen walking into the office of AEW president Tony Khan. The re-emergence of Miro comes after a long absence from television, with him not being seen in the ring since AEW All Out in September, only working a total of 4 matches in the year 2022 and none so far in 2023. Another similar return would happen later in the night when Thunder Rosa was shown walking into Tony Khan's office, with this being her first appearance since August 2022, before dealing with a back injury that forced her to eventually vacate the AEW Women's World Championship. The 2 returns coincide with the reported impending announcement of AEW's newest weekly show, Collision, which is expected to be made official next Wednesday at the Warner Bros. Discovery Upfronts. Tony Khan would confirm that an announcement of some sort will happen on the TNT network next week, the channel that Collision is expected to air on. Khan would show up on Dynamite last night, all but confirming reports that this will be linked to a brand new show, and he would say, "In addition to all the great wrestlers and great wrestling that you're going to see tonight, in the back there are literally stars lined up looking for chances to wrestle on AEW. I think it's clearer than ever that AEW can produce even more great content every week. I'd like you to stay tuned to TNT next Wednesday for a huge announcement, and please join us next Wednesday here on AEW Dynamite, where we'll follow up on one of the most important announcements ever in the history of AEW." Another name seemingly set for an AEW return as part of Collision is Andrade El Idolo, and whilst he wasn't present on Dynamite last night, he would take to social media to post a gif of himself getting suited up, a sign that he is yet another underutilized talent set to be spotlighted on Saturday nights. And speaking of AEW Collision, a returning CM Punk is expected to lead the charge on the new Saturday night show, with his involvement reportedly a huge factor in Warner agreeing to introduce a new wrestling show to their schedule. With that said, ever since the events of AEW All Out 2022 and the media scrum and the backstage brawl that followed, Punk's face has rarely been spotted on AEW television whatsoever, other than one video package highlighting a number of former ROH World Champions some months back. The promotion would even go through the effort of covering up his image on a production truck during the aftermath of the Blackpool Combat Club's attack on the Young Bucks as they were being assisted into ambulances. Well, this came to an end last night during a video package that covered the AEW career of world champion MJF thus far, with him running through all of the things he's achieved during his time in the company, as well as his involvement in the quote best dog collar match in wrestling history. The timing doesn't appear to be an accident, with this occurring just as AEW Collision is set to be made official next Wednesday. Elsewhere on last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, a special guest referee was added to the upcoming Double or Nothing pay-per-view, as on the show, a match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships was confirmed, with FTR officially set to put their belts on the line against current rivals Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, who were accused of using Mark Briscoe in order to play mind games with the current champions. Mark would then come down to the ring to announce that he will be in charge of the upcoming match as the special guest referee, with permission from AEW president Tony Khan. Briscoe would then try to bring peace between both sides, offering a drink to each team, although Lethal would spit the alcohol into the eyes of Dax and Cash, leading to a brawl in the ring. Unfortunately for Briscoe, he would find himself on the end of a pile driver at the hands of Dax Harwood, adding some jeopardy to how Mark will call the title match come the pay-per-view. Next, we have some more Mark Briscoe related news, as he would appear on Talk is Jericho with Chris Jericho this week, where he would discuss his career alongside his brother, the late Jay Briscoe, who sadly passed away earlier this year. For the past several years, the two brothers found themselves effectively blacklisted from any major television wrestling companies due to past comments made by Jay on social media, a ban that would be in effect up until his death in January. On the show, Mark would discuss Jay's guilt over his past actions that led to he and his brother being unable to appear on television, including AEW, and said, "Jay had such much, whether it was warranted or whatever the word is I'm looking for here, he had such guilt that we never did make it to TV. He felt it was his fault. The AEW ban that was said to have been put into place by Warner Bros. Discovery was eventually lifted 1 week after Jay's death, which allowed Mark to compete in a tribute match against Jay Lethal on what would have been Jay's 39th birthday. Regarding the tribute show, Mark would say, "That first night being his birthday, it was almost like, wow, this is his gift to me, his gift to us. For one, I just know how strong he was in his faith and his perspective and his thoughts on God and eternity and stuff. So I know he was not afraid to die. He didn't want to leave any of us, especially his kids, his family, of course. He would never want to leave them without him, but I know that he did not fear death." Here we are on his birthday, a week after he passed, and he's like, there you go ahead baby, go ahead, do what we do. If I went and balled up in a corner and cried and was sad and just couldn't function, Jamin would do whatever he could in his afterlife powers to haunt my ass into the ring. For that to happen in the timing that it happened, just the timing of it, it's like, well, this is the next step. Let's just roll with it, you know, until there is an obvious sign or an obvious indication that this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Let's keep on rocking and rolling. So it was great, especially to be against Lethal. That was great. Prior to last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, Tony Schiavone would appear on the Control Center to announce that the promotion are heading to the Boston Garden in Boston, Massachusetts this summer for the July 19th episode of Dynamite, as well as a pre-taped edition of Rampage. The company have ran events in the city in the past, with them drawing an attendance of 5,600 last April, before dropping to 3,200 in November, both at the Agganis Arena, with this drop leading to questions on why All Elite Wrestling are confident on a huge increase in attendance this time around in the much larger garden, which holds close to 20,000 people. One theory that seems to be picking up some steam is that this could be the location of the AEW hometown debut of former IWGP Women's Champion Mercedes Moné, the former Sasha Banks, with the hype for such an occasion no doubt providing a much needed boost in the Boston market. Whilst this is all speculation at this point, it appears that All Elite Wrestling may have an ace up their sleeve based on the confidence shown in booking an arena much larger than their previous Boston gates. At WrestleMania 39, social media star Logan Paul would find himself joined by his business partner KSI, who was initially disguised as a mascot for Prime Energy. This cameo would lead to questions on if KSI was set to follow Logan's lead and join WWE on a more regular basis, something he would discuss this week in an interview on the Joe YouTube channel. While he has been open to the idea of a match with Bobby Lashley in the past, JJ appears to have ruled out anything other than sporadic appearances in a squared circle and would say,
"Will KSI join WWE? Probably not. I don't mind like appearing here and there, but I won't be joining WWE, man. Big up all the wrestlers at WWE, but that is way too much for me. I can't take that many bumps. I'd much rather just watch it, honestly."
It seems that KSI is content with watching wrestling from the sidelines, with the known Botchamania fan unlikely to work a match anytime soon. Now let's get back to another story coming from last night's episode of AEW Dynamite, where a major turn would take place. The main event of the night would pit longtime rivals Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley against one another, as the feud between the Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite continues to boil over. After a brutal match that saw many toys come into play, Omega's longtime mentor Don Callis would make his way to the ring to prevent Moxley from striking with a screwdriver, which allowed Kenny to drop his opponent with a one-winged angel for what appeared to be a pinfall win. However, said pinfall would then be interrupted by a screwdriver shot from Callis to Omega, bringing an end to their relationship, with Moxley's subsequent pinfall scoring him a victory under shocking circumstances. After the show, AEW would then post a video onto social media showing Omega screaming for Callis as he was helped to the back, expressing his disappointment, questioning who he could trust if he couldn't rely on his own family. Don has been aligned with Kenny in AEW since December 2020's Winter Is Coming episode of Dynamite, where he helped him defeat Jon Moxley to win the AEW World Championship, although the lore of their relationship stems back long before that. We now await to see if Don Callis is officially set to join the Blackpool Combat Club.